this friggin' lunatic from Oklahoma is going to fix this car. Like, out of your mind? Nobody does this. And it friggin' worked. And he was right back off to the races the next day.
Ready? Welcome to episode 164 of the Drag Driver Pete Show, presented by Summit Racing. Again, big shout out to DeatschWerks and all the stuff they do for us, and they're title sponsors of our short circuit event, which happens at George Ray's November 6th and 7th, which coincides with the end of SEMA. No, I didn't catch that. But have either of you guys been to George Ray's before?
Years ago, when I was still a productive member of society and I had a real job, I actually had to go. I was like 3.5 hours away for a work deal, and I finished the work deal and just flat-footed to go see that place because I'd always wanted to see it. So I have seen it. Never there for a race, though.
That's awesome. Mike?
Nope, never been there.
Oh, man. It's a cool spot, and it's probably exactly the same, Brian.
Yes. I think the last photo I saw, I think they replaced the telephone pole tower with with 4x4 lumber instead of the old cut-up telephone poles, but it's still the crossover deal. I mean, what a killer track, and I love the fact that the family's still operating it. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really fun to, I don't know how many cars that track gets, but I wouldn't imagine it's 150 on a Friday and Saturday night. So we're bringing them, and they better be ready because we're going to have a good time. So it's going to be really cool.
That's great, man.
Yeah, I'm working on a huge cotton gin that's in the area. It's like one of the largest cotton producing gins in that part of the country. And so I want them to give us tours and do my breakfast and all that kind of stuff there. So I'm really excited about that trip. It's going to be really fun. But let's move on. Let's ask some questions here.
From street miles to track passes, your fuel system has one job: perform when it matters most. At DeatschWerks, we engineer high-performance fuel systems built for the demands of drag and drives. From injectors and fuel pumps to filters and regulators, every component is engineered to be reliable and consistent under real-world conditions. Whether you're chasing a personal best or driving hundreds of miles between tracks, DeatschWerks delivers the fuel system your build requires.
So Mike Chenoweth had a question. Has anyone attended every drag week so far with a car entered without missing a single one since 2005? And just to answer that, no.
Unless
some co-pilot.
I believe the only guy that was in the running for that, and I think he has only missed one of them, was Tom Hogshead. I think Tom Hogshead has been at every single drag week but one in that, and I believe it's always been in that blue, like 74, 75 Nova that he's had. I'll never forget that car in 2005 because it was like one of the first home-built turbo cars I'd ever seen. It was one of the first, like, build it in the garage, like not fancy pants, anything, like just regular guy making this work cars with twin turbos on it that I'd ever seen. And I want to say he's been to every single one but one, and I think he's the lone wolf in that.
Yeah, I don't have co-pilot info, which, man, I wish I had a way to gather that. That would be really cool to see because,
listen, at some point, man, you just turn into a stalker. You know what I mean? So you don't need
That's
that.
my problem. I'm like messaging everybody on this. Hey, who was your co-pilot in 2007?
Yeah.
Like, get off of me, man.
And your credit card number will be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Blood type again.
So Tom actually lives only maybe 5-10 minutes from me. Like every time I go to the grocery store, I pass his house.
Oh, that's awesome.
If I remember right, he was a policeman for many years, and then he opened his own shop, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I fangirl too much around him when I get by him. And then now his son Ian races that car a bunch, and Vince Ratch has done it a whole bunch as well. By the stats I have, it looks like another name we talked about earlier, Clark Rosenstengel, 18 times. Like,
there you go.
That dude's an animal. Rick Callahan, 18 times, which I don't know if I've ever even said the name Rick Callahan. So I feel bad. I need to go. Now I got to do all this research on Rick Callahan. Hey, man.
I feel like Rick ran a Corvette for many years. I think Rick was like a CE5 Corvette guy for a long time, if I remember right.
Wow, that's interesting. And then Steve Eden, man, I love Steve and Pete. That's such a cool combo. Those dudes doing it the same car every year. I mean, I know they're like, who is this dumbass that just bothers us all week long? But, they finished last year, and it was like, I think that was like their 18th time or something like that, 17th time or something like that to do drag week together and, finish it. So,
yeah, car had a 4-speed in it for many years. They put an automatic in it. But yeah, overall, it's the same car. They switched gear changing methods. But other than that, it's the same damn thing. Yeah.
Super cool. Goldstone 14 times, Schroeder 14, Frank Romano, that's the name we hadn't said tonight, Jeff Dugopolsky, Glenn Hunter, Tom Hawks. Dude, the name on these, it just big shout out to Ross Dudley has done it since the beginning. He's awesome, man. Just super cool stuff. The history now, I think we're finally getting into a spot now where the historical stuff is becoming interesting because so many people have done so many things, over time. Like a lot of these late model events or these later events don't have that history yet, but you look back, 20 years of drag week history becomes kind of important, so I always look at it, who did drag week one time in 20 years? They never, Carl Scott for a long time didn't race any other drag and drives. He raced, real racing. And then I think 666 or maybe Death Week was his return to drag and drive. So pretty cool.
Carl's deal that first year was a prototype for things to come. Pull into the racetrack, bolt the windows back into it, change the center section of the rear end, take the intake manifold off and ready, drove it down the road with a single 4-barrel on a kind of a smaller, I believe it was a single plane intake. And they would put the giant intake, sheet metal intake on it with the carburetors and plumb the nitrous to it. The amount of work they did to change that car over one way to the other, we didn't really see that level of changeover until Larry came out with the pickup truck too. And even Larry's process was way less intensive than what Carl and Troy had going on that year. But it was unreal. And then they burned the pistons out of it and they put a set of pistons in it in Bowling Green overnight. It was, they freaking worked for it that year. It was crazy.
And that's wild.
Yeah. They pulled into, the hell was the guy's name? The guy's name escapes me that went and got the pistons, but they knew they were in big trouble at Bowling Green. They had gotten a piston. Some dude, they found a set of pistons probably in Cleveland or something, and a dude jumped in his car. The fellow racer jumped in his car, hauled us up there to get them. We all left, and we were going to Columbus, Ohio the next day. And, again, it's 2005. No one has the level of communication we have today. And, we're basically everybody's getting their stuff out and getting ready to go. And here comes this friggin' red car. They'd driven all night and they got there and it was this little group of people. And it was just a moment that has been repeated. It's been repeated so many times. It almost gets repeated every year now, but it was so new. It was so new to all of us that this idea that this friggin' lunatic from Oklahoma is going to fix this car. You out of your mind? Nobody does this. And it friggin' worked. And he was right back off to the races the next day.
Yeah, it's so cool. And stories like that are, man, they just build character. They build on this whole thing. And how many hundreds of stories of that? Tom Bagley is a great example of that. He swapped a piston in his Fox Body Mustang Turbo LS deal. Nothing crazy, but swaps a piston by himself with a Harbor Freight 38-piece tool set in the parking lot at Tulsa Raceway Park while everybody else is gone.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bowles going over there, checking on, make sure he's got water and all that kind of stuff. Just in the parking lot doing the change.
Drag Week was such a non-deal in 2005, which in retrospect, this is actually very cool. But when we were at Columbus that same day that Carl Scott came in late, I was sitting in the tower working on my notes and stuff. And the Coughlins were there testing their pro stock cars and stuff. We were a test and tune day that we're annoyed them to be there with. But Troy Coughlin, Jeggy, multiple members of the Coughlin family were between runs because there are these gaps of downtime. You only have 30 cars and you're there for the day. There's nothing to do. They were making runs in their pro stock cars, which is actually, in retrospect, kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Erica, I'll let you run. I've chewed these guys' ears off. I'll let you run a couple questions there. Sorry.
These couple up here at the top.
Yep.
So Brian Wagner, Dragzine, asked a question. Drag Week spawned the drag and drive genre of drag racing. Now there are tons of types of events all across the country. What makes Drag Week stand out over the rest?
You can go first, Mike. You're wearing a hot rod hat.
Oh, I think the once a year, right? I think that keeps it special, right? You get in this one or you wait a year. I think that really does lock it up, and then just, the media stage that we bring to the table as well. Right. When you start looking at the size of our reach and that helps, it's bragging rights. Right. And I like to think that, Hot Rod's the biggest voice in the segment. So to win our event is a big deal, and then just the professionalism. We've got a great team that runs it and, it's really well put together, production with, you got, Freiberger and Lohnes, yakking away for 4 or 5 days, I think that helps too. A little bit of everything. I think that you just keep at it, and like I said, just try and keep it special, right? And that once a year does keep it special.
Yeah. I like the moving of it too.
Yeah, I think that's a function of the function of those one-time participants we talk about, it's like when the circus is coming to town, people take the chance to go see the circus. One of the coolest weeks that we've had for me personally is when it came to the East Coast, and we're at Maple Grove, we were at Cecil County. It's like, man, these are kind of like close to home for me. And you saw a lot of these East Coast guys finally get their shot to do this. The regular dude that can't get the stretch amount of time to tow there and back, he finally had it where he could get to and from the event in a day's drive. So I think that was a big deal. And I think the other thing I'd say is, thanks to the work of the Gebhardts, it's things that matter have statistics attached to them. Things that are important have a record, a statistical record. It has a legacy to it. And I think that is what, to me, that's what sets Drag Week apart to this point in time, is not just being the first, but it's been managed to the point where we can talk about things that happened every single year. We can talk about who was fast here, what they did here, when, where this happened. And, these other events, you need to continue to build on that each and every year so you can kind of create your own version of that. But, it's the big one. That's just the end of the day. It's the big one. You can never replace something that is first and that has lasted 20 plus years. You just can't do it.
Well, and again, just like I said, it gives people like they want that. They, getting into Drag Week's the first race. Then, from there,
As much as, and this has obviously been a huge topic across drag racing this year in every genre of it, about, payouts and money and all this other stuff. And it always will be. It'll all be part of the conversation. But the end of the day is the people want a jacket from Drag Week. They want an orange helmet from Sick Week. They could give a shit. The 10 grand, whatever you're going to put in your pocket, it's gone. Spent. Doesn't matter. The thing you can put on your shelf and look at and remind you every day of what you did and how you did it and the thing that you set out to accomplish and you accomplished. That's what it means. It's why, these Diamond Wallies that we have for the NHRA this year, people are just going berserk for them because it's a one-time deal. We're seeing guys that haven't come out.
Yeah. Race for it,
Exactly. And that means vastly more than a check.
Yeah. And I mean, Drag Week is the OG. There's other great events OG. Yeah. And I think having 10 years before we really saw another run at this, and then almost another 10 years before it really exploded. Like you had Drag Week was it for 10 years. So you've got 20 years of history of just browbeating that this is the only one. And then we have 2015 to 2022 when Sick Week came out of like, okay, there's a few more now. Now people can get involved. So Drag Week is still running during those years. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I know everybody for the most part has pretty well played nice. Like no one's getting on top of each other's dates. Like people are actually being cogent still and conscious about trying to run racetracks down on top of each other. And, I give Matt Frost a ton of credit. Like, Matt was the second guy in. Like he was the second guy in the ring and carried that burden himself. I think there's a lot of credit due to Matt Frost and what he's done to make Rocky Mountain Race Week what it is. Another, the second longest running event that exists in this genre. And obviously what Tom's done. Tom's done things, the creativity that Tom's done as far as where he's doing things, how he's doing things like Michigan Miles. He's to a degree franchised the thing. So I think everybody's got their piece of it. But Super Bowl. Yeah.
Well, and we are seeing like new people and new formats being tested, which is really cool. Like we know the way, and Eric and I do it the same way. You drag race, and we consider drag drive. You drag race, you drive some, and then you drag race again. Like that's the format that we feel needs to be followed, right? So True Street stuff, you can extend the miles on True Street, but it's still a True Street class, even if it's a 100-mile drive, right? Because you're still pulling in. You can still do all that stuff. You don't have to worry about loading that thing back up and making it to that next track. So you got to do some kind of drive. Even when we do our single day events, which is a pain for a lot of people to understand, but like you got to get your pass, get the car changed over, get on your drive and come back before the track closes, which has really been very fun and interesting. So anyways, we can talk about those later.
We had one other question here, and this one came from Ben Brown. Said, is Brian Lohnes interested in doing a meet and greet sometime during the event?
Does he mean Freiberg or Lohnes?
Yeah, you were asking the wrong guy. I would like to say hello to anybody that would like to say hello. And typically we do that in the afternoons when we're leaving because, when we get there in the morning, we kind of lock in and do the stream. And, David and I, as much as it is two guys just mentally draining each other for a week and pounding each other to dust, we do lock in and we try to do the best job we can. So we definitely don't bounce out of the room, during the day. But when we're done for the afternoon and we're going downstairs, like, yeah, come meet us at the back of the tower for sure.
Yeah, it's always cool. You guys are always, you make a little bit of rounds there. So if the racers want to meet those guys, you're probably better off to stay park close to the tower because those guys.
Yeah.
KJ said our walks around the checkpoints turn into that somewhat.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, when we always pop into the checkpoints, and if somebody's got their car yard sailed on the side of the road, we always dive over and see what the news is or what's going on. And Michelle Turgeon's typically driving whatever SUV that we're in, and sometimes 4 wheels are on the road, sometimes it's 2, sometimes we're 75 to 80 miles an hour in a school zone. A lot of times I'm not paying attention, to be honest with you, but we get from place to place. It's great.
You're making notes in your notes app.
Yeah, making notes or writing my will. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for that. Cannot wait. Well, one thing we're going to get to do at Drag Week.
Hang out with our race car friends.
Man, I cannot wait. Cannot wait to see you guys and just really spend some fun time together with everybody. Drag Week is going to be I don't know. This year is different. It just feels different. There's a lot of really neat stuff going on this year, and it's going to be really fun to spend some time with everybody, and especially Route 66. I've never been to that track, so it's going to be a good one. And of course, our sponsors, we can't do this without them, guys. So if you are shopping, please hit them up. If you find something that you like over there, hit us up. We may have some discount codes left for Summit. Get those for about another 5 days. Then I'm sure we'll get another batch here after that. And then, of course, Summit Racing, title sponsor here of the show, the news, and the circuit. Pretty exciting. And the Drag and Drive Awards, which is coming up. DeatschWerks, of course, the official fuel delivery of Drag Driver Pete, and the title sponsor for the short circuit. MAHLE Motorsports, best pistons in the game. Eric's running them in the Mustang that we're going to come kick some ass with. And those 10-0 classes first, and we're coming for you 850. Get ready. Driven racing oil. Dude, the barbecue sauce of cam installs. That stuff looked awesome. I want to put it on some fries. But you can't do that. It's not just against the rules that way. And of course, Howard's Camps, Luke being the team over there, all the valve train stuff you need. JWire Solutions. I got to talk to Brian the other day, Brian Acton. We're going to actually do some breaking news, hopefully on Saturday. That will be a big deal for them. They've been kind of hinting at it, and it's really, really close. AFCO Racing Products, of course, got to hang out with Rex and Eric at Havlic's. Dude, so glad they were there. Had to borrow tools from them, had to take advice from them. It was awesome. Of course, PerformaBuilt transmissions. Ryan and the team up there building all the coolest GM transmissions that you can absolutely handle. Car Change 3D. Corey, I need to send you an email. I've got an idea for a drag and drive part, and I got to get it out of my head so I can move on with my life. And of course, Low Dollar Motorsports, who not only does a whole bunch of sensors and stuff, but is also hosting their own race October 3rd and 4th and 5th there in Kentucky. So it's going to be awesome.